Stop. Right before the moment he enters you, there's a decision to be made. And it's not just physical. It's spiritual. It's psychological. It's energetic. What you do in these few seconds can change everything. How he sees you, how deeply he connects, and how long he remembers you. This is not about being passive. This is not about being pleasing. This is about power. The kind that doesn't beg or chase, but calls, commands, and captivates. What you do right before he enters you is where all your influence begins. And today, I'm giving you 5 bold things to do in that moment. Because you're not just letting him in. You're setting the terms when you lock eyes with him in that exact moment. Right before he enters you, you're not just looking at a man. You're delivering a message that most women are too afraid to speak. A message without words. A transmission of energy, of truth, of presence. Your eyes are the gateway to everything you carry inside, your desire, your boundaries, your fire, your softness, your power. And if you dare to hold his gaze, unbroken, unwavering, you change the entire energy of that moment. You take it from something that's happening to you to something that you are fully choosing. That's where the shift begins. That's where the power returns. In a world where so many women are conditioned to disconnect in sex, to check out, to perform, to avoid eye contact because it feels too vulnerable, you do the opposite. You stay. You meet him right there with your full self. And that boldness, that refusal to flinch, pierces through the noise in his mind. Suddenly, he's not just with a woman. He's in the presence of something deeper. Something he can't control. Something he can't manipulate. Something he respects. Because when you don't flinch, when you don't look away, you communicate something primal. You communicate that you are not afraid of your own desire, that you are not ashamed of being fully seen, that you don't need to shrink or hide to feel wanted. And that kind of energy, that kind of gaze, it wakes a man up. It challenges him to show up differently. No masks, no bravado, just raw presence. Eye contact right before penetration isn't just sensual, it's spiritual. Because what you're doing is inviting, not chasing. I am here. I'm not scared of this moment. And that steadiness in your eyes tells him more than words ever could. It tells him that you are not here to play a role. You are here to connect. And not in a shallow, fleeting way, but in a rooted, conscious, powerful way. That's what changes him. That's what anchors the moment in something unforgettable. He's used to women closing their eyes and disappearing into their heads. But you stay. You stay in your body. You stay in the room. You stay in your power. And the beauty of that boldness is that it doesn't scream, it radiates. You don't have to say a word. Your eyes say it all. I'm not afraid of being seen. I'm not here to impress. I'm here to feel. And when a man meets that energy, it humbles him. It strips him down. It calls the man in him to rise. Because, let's be honest, penetration without presence is forgettable. It's friction, not fusion. It's physical, not emotional. And a man may enjoy the moment, but he won't carry it. But when you look him in the eye and hold that gaze as he enters you, he feels something ancient, something real, something that lingers in his bones. You become a mirror, reflecting back his deeper self. And that reflection changes the entire experience for both of you. So when you lock eyes and don't flinch, you're not just being brave, you're being deeply feminine. Because true femininity isn't passivity. It's power. Soft, steady, magnetic power that doesn't need to control but refuses to disappear. You become the anchor in the moment. The one who says, with nothing but her eyes, this is sacred. This matters. Show up like it does. And he will, because no man forgets the woman who made him feel seen before he felt satisfied. No man forgets the eyes that didn't blink, the gaze that didn't shy away, the woman who didn't disconnect when it got intense. That kind of presence is rare. And in a world that's starving for depth, it's a gift. A wild, unforgettable, feminine gift. So don't look away. Don't flinch. Let your eyes speak louder than your lips ever could. Let them say, I'm right here. I chose this. I see you. Now rise to meet me. Because the real power isn't in the act. It's in the intention. And your eyes carry more intention than anything else in that room. When you hold his gaze, you hold the energy. And when you hold the energy, you lead the moment. That is what makes you unforgettable. That is what makes the moment unforgettable. That is what turns mere intimacy into a memory that etches itself into his soul. When you breathe like you own the moment, you do something that most women forget in intimacy. You stay connected to your body, to your rhythm, to your truth. Breath is not just oxygen. It is presence. It is power. It is ownership. And right before he enters you, the way you breathe speaks louder than anything else. It tells him whether you are here or not. Whether you are surrendering with sovereignty or merely allowing something to happen to you. So, in that moment, don't hold your breath. Own it. Deep, intentional breathing is not just about relaxation. It is a signal, a code, a vibration that says, this is my body, this is my space, and I decide how this energy moves. When you take that slow, deliberate inhale, you call your power back from every corner of your life where it's been scattered, from every thought that says you're too much or not enough. From every moment you've silenced your own desire to make someone else comfortable. Your breath reclaims all of that. It anchors you. It roots you into the now. And when a woman is deeply in the now, with her breath steady and sensual, a man can feel it like thunder in his chest. Your breath becomes a message to him. I'm not rushing. I'm not hiding. I'm here. There's nothing more powerful than a woman who breathes like she belongs in her own skin. Because breath is ownership. It's awareness. And it's leadership without force. It shifts the atmosphere. It slows time. It pulls the energy out of anxiety and into magnetism. Most women breathe shallow during intimacy. Tight chest, tense shoulders, nervous system in flight mode. But when you choose deep, belly-rich, grounded breaths, you shift everything. You go from being reactive to being radiant. From being taken to taking part. And he will feel it, because a woman who breathes deeply doesn't just change her own state. She changes his. Your breath leads the moment, not with dominance, but with devotion. It becomes the silent music the rest of the experience dances to. He will mirror you. He will unconsciously follow your rhythm. You are the baseline, you are the beat. And when your breath is calm, confident, and centered, he drops his armor without knowing why. You see, this isn't about seduction. It's about sovereignty. You're not breathing for him. You're breathing for you. Because you know that in this space, the only way to fully experience intimacy is to stay. Not just with your body, but with your soul. And your breath is what tethers your soul to your body. It says, I am not leaving myself for this. I am not escaping this moment. I am expanding inside it. And breath has memory. It carries emotion. It unlocks layers. That one inhale can bring tears to your eyes if you've been disconnected too long. That one exhale can release years of tension held in your hips, your chest, your heart. That's the kind of power you hold when you breathe with intention. You don't just participate. You transform. Inhale like you are worthy of every ounce of pleasure coming your way. Exhale like you are letting go of every thought that ever made you doubt it. Make your breath the boldest thing in the room. Not dramatic, not forced, just deeply yours. Let it be slow. Let it be sensual. Let it be sacred. This is what it means to lead with your energy. Not by being loud, not by being in control, but by being anchored in your own experience, your own sensations, your own timing. You don't need to speed up to meet him. Let him slow down to meet you. Because when a man enters a woman who is fully in her breath, he enters something more than a body. He enters a presence. He enters a space where time stops, where connection deepens, where everything else fades away. That's the kind of intimacy that rewires a man, that reshapes how he sees you and how he sees himself. So breathe like you're not afraid of being felt. Breathe like this moment was made for you, not just him. Breathe like your pleasure is not a side effect. It's the center. And when you do, everything softens, everything deepens, everything opens. That's what it means to breathe like you own the moment. You're not gasping for him. You're grounding with him. You're not performing. You're embodying. And that kind of embodiment, that kind of breath-led boldness, that's unforgettable. Right before he enters you, there is a sacred pause, a space where everything is possible. It's a threshold moment. And what you say in that moment, if you choose your words with intention, can anchor him in a way that no touch ever could. This is the space where a single sentence, whispered or spoken with unwavering conviction, has the power to pull him out of his head and into his body, out of performance and into presence. Because while your body may be ready, your voice, the truth in your voice, is the invitation that makes the moment real. Most people don't understand the gravity of this. They rush through the moment. They assume desire speaks for itself, but it doesn't. The masculine often floats on the surface, lost in the goal, the motion, the pressure to do it right. And what brings him down into the depth is your voice. Not long speeches, not soft moans, just one clear, anchored, true line that lands in his soul. That is what centers the moment. The line you speak is not about pleasing him. It's about anchoring him. Emotionally, energetically, spiritually. It's about calling him into the moment with you. Not as a conqueror, but as a participant. As a man, not a machine. So you must choose your words like a spell. Simple, direct, but pulsing with presence. It could be a line like, be with me, not just inside me. Or, I want you, not a performance. Or even more raw, I want to feel you lose control with me. Each line is different, depending on who you are and who he is. But the energy must be the same, intentional, not accidental, or not performative. Alive, not automated. When you speak this one line, you become the guide, not because you are in control, but because you are in truth. And truth is magnetic. A woman who can speak one grounding truth in the heat of intimacy disrupts every story he's ever known. She stops the autopilot. She stops the script. She calls him out of the clouds and into his body, and most of all, into yours. Because here's the truth: most men are not used to being invited into emotional presence. They're used to being used, praised, or watched, but not met. Not invited to bring their full self, their full presence, their full heart. When you speak one clear anchoring line, you're saying, I see you. I want all of you. Come here. And in that moment, his energy changes. His eyes shift. His breath drops. His touch slows. Because now, he's not chasing climax. He's experiencing communion. That one line of truth from you takes him from friction to fusion, from pressure to presence, from ego to essence. The line does not need to be poetic. It doesn't need to be sensual in a movie scene kind of way. It just needs to be real. Spoken from your center, spoken with a steady voice, spoken with zero need for approval. That's the key. You're not saying this to make him act a certain way. You're saying it because it's what you feel and what you require. You're drawing a line that says, this isn't just physical. This is personal. And that bold act of voicing a need, a desire, or a truth in the most vulnerable moment, right as he's about to enter, sets the tone for the entire experience. It communicates that your body is not passive. Your spirit is not silent. You're not here to be entered. You're here to be met. And a woman who can speak from that place becomes unforgettable, not because she performs better than others, but because she's present in a way others are not. Don't underestimate the courage it takes to speak in that moment. And don't underestimate the impact it has on him. Men may not always know how to explain it, but they feel it. They feel when a woman leads with clarity. They feel when a moment shifts from surface to soul. And long after the touch fades, they remember the line she spoke that brought them back to earth. So before he enters you, find your breath, find your gaze, and then find your truth. And speak it, even if it shakes, even if it feels raw, even if it's just 5 words. That's all it takes. One line, fully alive, can anchor him into you more deeply than anything else ever will. Right before he enters you, there's a quiet temptation to slip out of your body and into your mind, to start thinking instead of feeling, to monitor instead of melt. You wonder how you look, how you sound, if he's enjoying it, if you're doing it right. And in that moment, you lose the most powerful part of yourself, your presence. But when you ground yourself in pleasure, not performance, everything changes. You stop trying to impress him and start embodying yourself. You stop being the performer and become the experience. Performance is rooted in fear. It's the unconscious belief that who you are isn't enough. So you have to become something more louder, sexier, smoother, more pleasing. It's an exhausting act of self-abandonment, and it's what disconnects you from your body's wisdom. But pleasure is rooted in truth. It's not a show, it's a state. And a woman in pleasure doesn't need to be watched, because her entire body is alive from the inside. She isn't chasing validation. She's feeling every breath, every inch, every pulse, and that presence, that magnetism, it's irresistible. Here's the paradox: the less you try to perform, the more powerful you become. When you stop worrying about what you look like and start tuning into what you feel like, you enter a different kind of power, a deeper current. And a man can feel that shift instantly. He senses when you're not waiting for him to give you pleasure, but when you're already inside it, already generating it, already claiming it. You become the source, not the mirror. You radiate from within. Grounding yourself in pleasure means you let go of scripting the experience. You release the idea that there's a right way to moan, move, or react. There's only your truth, and truth is sexy. Truth is freeing. If you want to scream, scream. If you want to go silent and still do it. If you want to cry, laugh, gasp, whisper, let it come. The feminine is wild and unpredictable when she's in her body. And that wildness is not chaos, it's life. It's freedom. And it gives him permission to stop performing too. Most women have been taught to be visually desirable, but not sensorially connected. They've been trained to look sexy, but not to feel sexy. That's backwards. And it's painful because it leads to disconnection. You leave your body and go into your head, wondering if you're being good enough. But you don't need to be good. You need to be here. You need to be alive. Your aliveness is the turn on. Your authentic expression is what captivates. Not the arch of your back or the script you've memorized from movies. It's your ability to feel deeply and show up without apology. Grounding yourself in pleasure also means honoring your own pace. If your body wants to move slow, don't rush it. If you need a breath, take it. You don't owe him a tempo. You don't owe him constant movement. You are not a performance for his consumption. You are an experience to be shared. That alone changes everything. The masculine doesn't want a machine. He wants access to your truth, to your pleasure, to the parts of you that are raw and real. But he can only access that if you do. So how do you ground yourself in pleasure? You breathe. You slow down. You bring your awareness into your body, your lips, your hips, your thighs, your chest. You stop asking, how am I doing? And start asking, what am I feeling? You let your body lead. You get curious. You let the moment unfold rather than trying to control it. You let go of trying to look like the fantasy and become the reality. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman in her pleasure. Not because she's being watched, but because she's feeling everything. She isn't waiting to be turned on. She is turned on. By herself. By the moment. By the power of her own presence. And the beauty is that energy doesn't fade. It doesn't depend on age, shape, or style. It's timeless because it's authentic. So when that moment comes, right before he enters, don't tighten up. Don't jump into performance. Go deeper. Drop in. Feel. Take one breath and sink into your skin. Ask yourself, what do I desire right now? Not what does he expect? Let that guide you. Let that be the compass. Because when you ground yourself in your own pleasure, you don't just have sex. You create alchemy. And that's unforgettable. Right before he enters you, the energy in the room shifts. It's no longer just about touch. It's about tone. It's about who's leading the energy and whether you're surrendering in strength or shrinking in uncertainty. In that moment, you have the power to set the frequency, not with loud declarations or exaggerated moves, but with something far more commanding your presence. Whether you choose stillness or movement, the key is to own the space, to take up energetic room, to be felt, not just seen. Owning the space means you're not waiting to be moved. You are the movement. You're not reacting to his rhythm. You're co-creating it. Every subtle shift in your body, every decision to stay completely still, every breath, every pause, it all speaks. And the question is, are you speaking with power or with performance? A woman who owns the space knows that she doesn't have to do more to be magnetic. She just has to be fully there. Stillness, in particular, is underrated. We've been told that sensuality has to be active, dynamic, expressive. But stillness, when it's intentional, is pure voltage. It says, I'm not chasing. I'm not entertaining. I am the moment. Stillness allows the masculine to come fully toward you, to meet you, to feel the gravity of your presence. It creates a vacuum that pulls him in. Not because you're trying, but because you're rooted. And in a world addicted to noise, a woman who can hold stillness without fear becomes unforgettable. She becomes sacred. He doesn't just see her. He enters her world. But movement, too, can be powerful when it's born from feeling, not performance. When you shift your hips, it's not because you think it looks good. It's because it feels right. It's because your body is expressing something true. Your rhythm isn't a show. It's an expression of being alive. And that authenticity, whether slow and sensual or wild and primal, is what draws him deeper into you. Because now he's not just with a woman, he's with a force. With something real. Something unrepeatable. The problem is, most women are taught to look outside of themselves for cues. Should I move more? Should I be louder? Am I doing enough? That external validation kills presence. It turns a sacred moment into a scene. But when you own the space, you stop asking those questions. You turn inward. You trust your instincts. You realize that your power isn't in how you look, but in how you feel. And that feeling becomes the source of everything. Owning the space also means owning your energy. You're not shrinking. You're not making yourself smaller to fit into his comfort zone. You're expanding. You're taking up emotional, spiritual, sensual space without apology. And that doesn't mean overpowering him. It means inviting him into your full presence. You are not waiting for permission to exist. You're declaring that you're already here, fully, boldly, softly, completely. And what's incredible is that when you do this, when you own the space with stillness or movement, you invite him into his own depth. You activate something in him that performance never could. You show him that this isn't just a physical act. It's a meeting, a merging. A moment that asks him to be present, to be awake, to be worthy of what you're offering. So whether you're lying still, letting your breath lead the energy, or you're moving with slow, sensual intention, the truth is the same. You are the one setting the tone. You are not here to perform. You are not here to be passive. You are here to be powerful. And power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it breathes. Sometimes it moves an inch and says more than a mile ever could. You own the space by being unshakably connected to yourself, by trusting that your body is already enough, that your energy doesn't need to be amplified. It just needs to be anchored. And in that anchoring, you give the man in front of you something far more than sex. You give him presence. You give him truth. You give him you. That's what he remembers. That's what lingers. That's what makes the moment unforgettable. In the most vulnerable moment, right before he enters you, there's a chance to forget yourself, to shrink, to hand over your power in exchange for approval, validation, or the illusion of closeness. You might feel the urge to disappear into the act, to become what you think he wants, to blend into his experience instead of standing firmly in your own. But this moment of all moments is when you must remember who you are. Even here, especially here. Because this isn't just about sex. It's about identity. It's about sovereignty. It's about holding on to your wholeness, even as you open. To remember who you are means you don't give yourself away. You bring yourself in. You don't collapse into him. You meet him. You don't become less visible as things heat up. You become more real. You carry yourself like a woman who knows her worth before, during, and after the act. That doesn't make you cold. That doesn't make you detached. That makes you rooted. It means you know your body is not an offering for approval. It's a home for your soul, and no one gets to walk through the door unless they knock with reverence. This doesn't mean you can't be soft. It doesn't mean you can't surrender. It means your softness is a choice, not a habit. It means your surrender is sacred, not survival, because you remember that you are not here to be taken. You are here to be met, fully, completely, reverently. And the only way a man can meet you that way is if you stay in yourself. If you don't abandon who you are the moment you feel desired. You see, many women confuse intimacy with merging. They dissolve themselves in the heat of passion, hoping to be loved more deeply by becoming what the moment wants. But true intimacy isn't about dissolving. It's about revealing. And revelation requires you to be someone. It requires you to bring your voice, your needs, your pace, your essence into the space. When you remember who you are in that moment, you don't shrink, you expand. You don't try to fit inside his experience. You invite him into yours. And that memory of yourself is your anchor. It keeps you from slipping into patterns that leave you empty afterward. It keeps you from mistaking attention for affection or penetration for partnership. It reminds you that you were whole before this moment, and you will be whole after it. So anything that happens here, any pleasure, any connection, any climax, is a gift, not a fix. You are not waiting to be completed. You are not here to be made worthy. You are already that. So let yourself feel fully, fiercely. But don't forget the woman who stands behind the feeling. The woman who built herself. The woman who knows her depth. The woman who doesn't confuse access to her body with access to her soul. That's the woman who can love freely because she doesn't give herself away in order to be loved. That's the woman who can be naked without being exposed because her worth is not hanging on his reaction. It's written in her bones. And when you remember who you are, even here, you become something unforgettable, not because of what you do, but because of who you don't stop being. You stay true. You stay whole. you stay home in yourself. And that kind of woman, she shifts the entire atmosphere. She doesn't just give a man pleasure. She gives him presence. She doesn't just create chemistry. She creates clarity. And in that clarity, the masculine feels something it rarely encounters: reverence. Because a woman who remembers who she is, even in her most open moment, teaches a man how to treat her without saying a word. She teaches him that her body is not an escape from life. It's an entry into something more alive. She teaches him that real connection requires real presence. And she teaches herself over and over again that she never has to trade her truth for touch, not even in her most vulnerable state. So when that moment comes, when your breath deepens, when your body opens, when his energy moves toward yours, pause, feel everything, welcome it. But don't leave yourself. Not for him, not for the experience, not for the promise of love. You are not here to be chosen. You are here to choose yourself, to choose your truth, to choose who you let into the most sacred temple you've ever known. You. So much of what we've been taught about intimacy is backwards. We've been told to perform, to please, to prove our worth by how desirable we can be in someone else's eyes. But real power, true feminine power, doesn't perform. It remembers. It remembers who she is. It remembers that her body is not a stage. It's a sanctuary. It remembers that her pleasure is not something to be earned. It's something to be honored. Right before he enters you is not just a physical threshold. It's an energetic one. It's the line between unconscious and conscious connection, between habit and intention, between giving yourself away and offering yourself in truth. And when you choose to lead that moment with presence, with breath, with depth, and with unapologetic feminine energy, you shift the entire story. You are not just a body to be touched. You are a force to be felt, a soul to be met, a woman to be respected. And the way you hold that truth in your eyes, your breath, your words, your stillness, your pleasure, is how you shape the entire experience. So don't forget your power in those sacred seconds. Don't shrink. Don't rush. Don't disconnect. Pause. Lead. Remember who you are. Because the most unforgettable women are not the ones who try to impress. They're the ones who stay rooted in their truth, even here.